I wanted to walk you through a PowerPoint lesson for the MET 1131 Intro to PowerPoint My Hobby assignment. So you need to complete this if you got less than an 80% on your pre-assessment, but no problem. We'll get you up to speed, and then you get a chance once you take this and get a passing grade. Then the PowerPoint post-assessment will open up. You'll get multiple chances to take that if needed. And then that will be your final grade here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put together a 4-slide presentation about a hobby or interest. Here's the naming convention that we're going to use. So last name, first initial, and PP. We're going to open up the PowerPoint software. And then I'm going to insert a blank presentation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my file. And we just saw the naming convention. So the naming convention, last name, first initial, PP, should be capitalized just like this. No extra spaces or symbols. So I'm going to go do a file, save as. I will choose the location. I'm just going to use my OneDrive here. I will save that to my, I'll just put it in my documents here so I know where to find it. And I am going to put in last name, first initial, PP. And then once you get your file name, you can save as different types of files here, save as type. If you save it as this first file type, your file extension, you'll see your naming convention here, your name for your file, and then .pptx. That X means it's the newest version of the software. New versions of the software can open up files created on older versions. Older versions can't open up new versions. So if you want to, maybe you've got an older version at home. If you want to save it as a 97 to 2003 presentation, whatever software you have at home should be able to open it up. Uh, I'm just going to save it as the newest version here. Go ahead and save my file. When I do that, I can see my files named up here. And again, I can see that file extension .pptx. And I can see where it's saved. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into design and I'm going to choose a background. So the backgrounds, you can see here, we've got all these different text boxes laid out. You can see the different size font in these text boxes. So when I choose different design, different background themes, it's going to change the way my text boxes are laid out and the size of those fonts. And so if I get everything laid out and then I change my background, everything is going to get shifted around. And maybe it won't depending on the theme, but two things I want to do from the beginning. I want to name my file, understand how to put the name in, save it as the correct file type, select a background theme. Doesn't matter which one you use. Let's see. I really like that one. Okay. I'll just choose this one here. I'm going to choose the one next to it, actually. I can't decide. I'm going to choose this one. No, I'll choose this one. After you select this, you can go through and you can change your colors. You can play around with formatting the background. And then you've also got this designer. It's kind of an AI tool to help you, and that'll be available throughout. I'm going to go back to this one. Sorry for being so indecisive here. So this is about a hobby that's of interest to you, something I like to do in my free time. I like to mountain bike. By and my name here. Now the designer is going to give me some options here, and you can feel free to incorporate these. I will warn you, so if you take a look at this one, some of the background is light and the text is light. If you go to give this during a presentation and you're projecting it, it may get washed out easily. So typically you want light text on a dark background. I don't really want any of these. I'm just gonna leave it the way I want it. But something I do want is I want to increase the size of this text. I think this is a little small. So we can, if I select one of these text boxes and I move my cursor right over one of these lines, I get those 4 arrows. Now I can left click and hold down. I can drag this around. If I wanted to change the size of my text box, I can grab it by one of these little circles here on the edge of that line. Keep in mind, if you do this with an image, well, I'll show you that when we get to the image. And I'll do the same with my name here. I think it's a little smaller than I want. You know, in general, I always recommend filling in the space you have available on your slide. All right, and this could be a good place to insert an image or a graphic because you have all this blank space here. But for now, I'm just going to leave this like it is. But I am going to go ahead and put in an animation. So you'll notice right now I've got these animations. Animations make things appear or disappear, and you can set it up to have that happen automatically or on the click of your mouse. What you don't want to do in your slides is have 10 animations on one screen and to constantly have to be advancing with your mouse or keyboard, or maybe you've got a clicker for a presentation aid. So I'm just going to highlight, I'm going to select this part here. Notice I have to select something to animate for these to become active. I'll use that animation. I'm going to turn on my animation pane. So now I can see all the animations I have available on my slide here. Instead of having it start with a click, so having to click on my mouse or click on my keyboard or my presenting tool, I'm going to have it start right after the previous. So as soon as my slide pops up, this animation will automatically take place. And I'm going to make it go a little longer, maybe give it a 1/4 of a second delay. Then I can see what it's going to look like. So when I open up this slide, that's what's going to happen. Okay, I like that. You've also got these other animation effects. You can play around with all these on your slide. So that's Design tab that we've covered so far and the Animation tab. Now I'm going to add some new slides. So I can just click this button and add new slides. I can also come down here and I can choose, there's all these pre-formatted slides that are built in to PowerPoint. I like this one. This one has a place for a title, a place to add some text, and then it's got all these kind of graphics built in here, which is kind of nice. You can also find all these, so search for stock images, find your own picture, insert tables, insert charts. Smart art is a good one. You can also find all these in the Insert tab. If you're using Microsoft Office 365, there's an app you can use or download your computer, and there's also a web browser version. If you're using the web browser version, you're going to have fewer of these tools. I call these tabs, home tab, insert tab, design tab. I call these menus slide menu, table menu, image menu. And then inside there, you have these tools. So this would be the insert tab, the text tool, or the text menu, the word art tool. And again, if you're using that browser version of Microsoft Office 365, you may not have access to all these tools. But again, not a problem. So we want 4 slides altogether. So I'm going to, here in my home tab, I'm going to go ahead and insert 4 slides. Here's the layout for my slide. Even if I have a slide, I can always, with a certain layout, I can come up here and change it. Maybe I'll use a little different layout here. You can also, if you left click, you're selecting things. If you right click, you pull up menus. I can come over here and right click, get to my layouts here as well. So maybe I'll do this comparison, and I'll put in trails I like to ride. Again, I've got a title in here. I'm going to go ahead, do that. Get that centered. So maybe I can left align, center align, right align here in my paragraph tool in the home tab, paragraph menu. I'm going to center align this, and I'm going to increase the size of my text a little bit. Like, I like to fill in my slides. So a couple places I like to go to John Bryant. And there's another place called Mamba. It's like the Montgomery Mountain Bike Association. I don't even know if that's what it stands for. Either way, same things here. I'm like, these are a little smaller than I want. I'm just going to increase the size of that text just a little bit. I'm going to center those over my slides. If you have the tool, you could go to Insert and your Word Art tool. And you could come up with something. You could use one of these. I'm not going to use that. I don't really like that one. See if I can find another one. Insert tab, Word Art tool. I like that one a little more. I could bring this up here where I want it. I'll leave it like this. I'll leave that one the way it is, just to let you kind of see how you use word art. I had to go in there and delete that text box. Just clicked on the corner and hit delete. Then I drug my word art over there. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to save some pictures. So I'm going to go find I'll look up John Bryant Park. I'll go to the images here. Bunch of videos. Yeah, right. These guys look like. I'll go ahead and find this video. I'll right click. I'll save my image here. I'll save it to my pictures. I'll do the same. I'll go to Mamba. Yeah, this looks like the trail where you come in and out of Mamba. It's a lot of fun. All right, I'll go here, do the same thing, pictures. All right. So now I've got two pictures saved. I can come in here. I could have looked for stock pictures. I go to pictures. I go to where I saved it. Here's my John Bryant picture. I select that. I'm going to insert. Go find my Mamba picture. All right, here's my Mamba picture. I'm going to insert. So these pictures are both different sizes. I selected pictures with different. Notice if I click on the picture, this new tab pops up. So anytime you select something, like you've inserted a graphic or a component, new tabs will pop up. It shows me this came with a certain length to width ratio. These two are never going to match exactly, but if I start dragging this out like that, see how blurry that image gets? If you want to adjust the size of your pictures, grab them from the corners here. And at least now, all right, the bottom matches up. I'll drag this up here. Maybe I'll drag this over a little bit. See if I can get this top. All right, that's pretty good. Maybe I'll move this over just a little bit. Move this over a little more. Okay. This isn't perfect. I don't love this. If I wanted to, let's see how much of a pain it is. I could crop one of these. Just move this over a little bit. I don't like how it goes over into this green. Hit enter, it'll just cut that off. Maybe I should have cut off some of that side a little bit. But this is pretty good. Again, I should probably, since I used word art for this one, use word art for this one as well. Just like to keep that kind of continuity there. I'll come over here, I'll click on this text box, I'll hit delete. I'll drag mine up here. Now I'm going to make this title even just a little bit bigger. It's because my titles are pretty big. All right, and so now I've got a slide built here. I've got my title. I've got two different places to write, and I don't have a lot of text or bullet points. This is just something if I'm presenting this slide comes up and I say, so here are a couple local trails I like to ride. I really enjoy, and I'm just going to talk off the top of my head. I really enjoy mountain biking at John Bryant. It's a little bit of an easier ride, and it's good exercise, and it's just a place where I feel pretty safe. Mamba has some trails that are a little more extreme. You get a better workout at Mamba, but I think you have a little higher risk of injury. So I do really enjoy riding there as well, but maybe I don't ride there quite as much. So you don't have your talking points on the slide, but you've got something to talk about, and you've got good graphics for someone to see to at least make it a little bit entertaining. So next I'm going to talk about, I'll just say reasons I like to ride. Or I don't really like the way that sounds. Why? So why I mountain bike, and that's my title. Again, I've got all this empty space up here. Don't really like that. I'm going to fix that here in a little bit. I'm going to put in a few bullet points of text. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and get, instead of using searching out an image, I'm going to go to some stock images and see what I find if I just put in mountain biking. All right. I wish I was this cool and I was up in mountains, and I'm definitely not. All right. Put my image in here. I can grab this sucker and left click and hold on and drag it around a little bit. Maybe increase the size just a little bit. And over here, I've got some design. It's already starting to try to help me with the design. So it sees, all right, it sees I should move the title up to the top, and it can take and incorporate that image into the background. Like, all right, I think that looks a lot better. So for this one, I'm going to use the designer tip. And you can scroll through, you know, this one, you've got some of these. I think the text might be kind of get a little bit washed out if you'd select this. I'll stick with this one. I'll come in here and now I want to use my, oh, not sure what happened here. I'm over here and click my designer. All right, this is the one I want. All right. I don't like how bike is on its own line there. I'm gonna stretch that out a little bit, get that all in one line. Like this, I think it looks good. Now I'm gonna add some text. When I selected the designer, or the design option here, it added this bullet point marker for me. If it didn't do that, you can just come into your paragraph menu, and here you've got a bunch of different bullet points you can use. I'll change it up to that one. You could number them as well. I think bullets are a little more informal. Maybe I'll use that one. So here I'm going to use the 4x6 rule, or the rule of sixes, or it's expressed a lot of different ways. But it's the idea that, especially if you're building a PowerPoint that you're going to present, you don't want to write out long sentences and paragraphs. You want to have about 4 to 6 bullet points per slide, and you want a maximum of 6 words per bullet point. And the idea is that you're just giving yourself some sort of talking points, and you're going to come present your slide, and then you've just got these talking points to refer to, and then you move on. Right? You're going to talk off the top of your head as opposed to reading long sentences and paragraphs. So I'll just put my couple talking points here. And again, this is one of those things where I want to fill in the space of my slide. So I'm a little short here, so I'm just going to come up here and I'm just going to increase the size of my text a little bit. And I can move this around. I can move my title around where I like it. Right, and maybe a little more empty space down here than I like, but this is a pretty full slide. I pull this up, why I enjoy mountain biking. It's great exercise. I've met a lot of interesting people. Here I see all the words are capitalized, but I didn't capitalize this one. Probably change that one. You get out in nature and enjoy the fresh air. I really enjoy just riding through the woods. I think it's very peaceful. And again, you're getting all these other kind of designer ideas. Keep them, don't keep that. Whatever you think is best to some degree. But you also want to be able to do a lot of this manually. Maybe not put your images in the background, and that might be a little advanced for what we're trying to do. And something else, I haven't used punctuation here anywhere. And I just say, if you're going to use it, be consistent. If you're going to put these periods in, put them in everywhere. If you're not going to put them in, don't use them anywhere. Here, I'm not going to use it. So now I've got my title slide. Got my one animation. Something I haven't used yet is transitions. So transitions are what my slides are going to look like when I advance from one slide to the next. And anytime you see a number for your slide and that little star there, right, that means you've got a transition. I think this one might actually mean you have an animation. But I'll just select random bars. That's what my slides will look like as I move from one to the next. And I'm going to hit apply to all. And now I've got that little star next to each one. So I've got a transition for each one of these slides. And again, I like to use the same one. I don't really care which one, but I like to use the same one. Hit that apply to all button. You can incorporate sounds, change the duration, play around with some of these different effects. You can have it set up to automatically advance after a certain time. I just do with the mouse click. So design, transitions, animations. You always want to make sure you're using the review tab and spell checking. In the slideshow here, you can go through and you can record, you can set timings and play around with some of these. You can start this in slideshow mode from the beginning. Well, mine's on the other screen here, but you can get an idea kind of what it looks like as you move from one to the next. Right, your first slide pops up. That's what your animation looks like. That's your transition. Just it's sliding straight upwards. It looks a little, you can't even hardly tell you have one. Let me put in a different transition. I'll do the bars again, apply to all. I'll go back to slideshow here. Now you get a better idea of kind of what that transition looks like. Go back here. One slide left. In the insert tab, we've got all these different tools. We could insert a table here, insert pictures, play around with these, a screenshot, a photo album. For this one, we'll do smart art. So I'm going to do a horizontal picture list. And then for this one, I'll do types of bikes. And I'll do rigid bike. Front suspension. And then I will do a full suspension bike here. Now here I've got a spelling mistake. If I just hover over that, it'll give me an option to correct that. I can also add it to my dictionary so it doesn't show up anymore. I can dismiss it. I want to take my correction here. So I can click on that. I can, if I have a file saved, I can go to stock images or I can search. I'll say, do a rigid mountain bike and see what pops up here. All right, that's a fat tire bike. These all have front forks. I guess I'll just go with the fat tire bike here. Same thing here. I'll search online. I'll do a front suspension. Too fancy. Everything in here is full suspension. What did I type in the last time? Because last time they all came in. They all came in as front suspension bikes. All right, here's a front suspension. For this one, I'll do my full suspension. Again, I want to kind of fill this up a little bit. I'd like to actually make this a little bigger. All right, maybe again, I might center this. So again, 3 different ways to kind of lay out your slides. I mean, here's one without much text where you're just going to talk based off your images. Here's one where you've got your bullet points that you're going to talk off of. Here's one again with some images, a little bit of text to go along with it. I mean, this slide and this slide are very similar. But I always say incorporating text and slides is your best way to go. So maybe something, most of your slides would probably be a little more like this, and then maybe you've got 1 or 2 more. Go into the Insert tab, play around with these different tools. You can put a header and a footer in there. You don't necessarily need to, but come in here, include the date, we'll go to a footer. Put the slide number in there. So like here's where your footer would be. You can do whatever you want with that. I'm just going to go in and delete it. Not something I normally include in my slides. Oh, there's the slide number. Okay. So play around with any of these tools. Again, make sure you get in the review tab, go to the spell check at a minimum, and give your slides a proofread. After you put this all together, go to your slideshow and just walk through, see what your animations look like. Make sure your transitions look good. Animations are good to answer questions. So again, name your file, make sure you can save it and save it as a specific type of file. Title slide, here's my one animation. Can come in here and turn on your animation pane. You can see what that looks like. Play around with these different layouts and tools. I really like the layouts because they'll give your slides a uniform look. Play around with this designer if you have that feature, depending on the version of PowerPoint you're using. All right, so we've walked through this once together. Hopefully you followed along, and keep in mind if you're watching this on YouTube, you can slow down the playback speed. Now choose your hobby and just do the same thing. Go through and lay out your title slide, play around with some of these different layouts, incorporate some of the different tools, and just be creative. Feel free, email me, let me know if me or whoever your instructor is, let us know if you have any ideas or questions, and keep working hard. Take care.